Hi everyone, this is a quick ab experience to start connecting your abs with your breath. Taking a moment to come into a comfortable seat. If you prefer to lay down, you can lay down, sit in a chair, anywhere where you are comfortable enough to lengthen the spine. And we want length in the spine to lengthen the rib cage and allow the breath to really fill up the rib cage. You can bring your hands to the sides of the rib cage and really feel how the breath fills up the sides. We are going to be talking about the placement of the rib cage throughout the practice. The ab connection, it goes deeper than the superficial layer when we think of abs or a six-pack. There's deep, deep layers that interconnect all the way even into the pelvis. So starting to relax the pelvis and feel the pelvis, bringing awareness. Awareness of the pelvis and rib cage are so fundamental to the ab experience. Really taking time before any ab practice, being conscientious of the feelings to really be able to contract the abs. We also want to know how to relax the muscles as well, and so many muscles connect and cross in this region. In Pilates, we call between the shoulders and the hips the powerhouse. So really today during our ab exercises, checking into what's happening in the powerhouse. So we're breathing into the rib cage, and breathing is really the key, the answer. If there was an answer to the philosophy of abs, I would say breathing. You cannot efficiently breathe enough. Like, you cannot be too efficient at breathing. I am very passionate about the breath. Also, we want to make sure the shoulders are open so we can roll them a few times. If the shoulders are really tight or collapsing forward, rolled forward, this can impact the quality of our breath. Again, trying to have that breath low into the lung lobes, way low, almost just where the rib cage finishes. Imagine the breath hitting the lowest part of the rib cage. So often, including myself, we get stuck right up in the throat and are breathing shallow. And that's not a great way to connect with our abs and our pelvis. The head and the face, you can look side to side a few times. The tightness in the neck and the traps can all play a part in how efficiently we breathe. With the head, I like to place a fist under the chin and feel that the back of the neck is long, the front of the neck is long, the head's in the center, the shoulders are rolled gently down and back, gently, just hanging there. And hopefully over time, as we sit here and breathe, we'll only be here for another few moments. And if you ever need a fidget or change positions, you are so welcome. I can't even see you. Do whatever feels right in your body. Noticing if there's any more ease. So with abs, oftentimes the part I find people overlook is the ease, right? There's effort. It's going to be challenging here when you get that ab connection and the abs are working. There's an ease to it if we're not breathing through the movement, if we're not connecting to the points in our body that need to be still and stable. It can be near impossible to efficiently connect to your abs. Now bringing yourself down onto the floor. Again, if you want to stay seated and that works better, you're doing this from a chair, a lot of what we're doing you can do from a chair. And if something you can't do, feel free to visualize. Visualizing or just bringing awareness and consciousness into the part of the body that we're talking about also has powerful effects. Hands back on the rib cage, feeling now the rib cage. Again, so much effort needs to be placed on the position of the rib cage and the pelvis if you want to feel a deep abdominal connection, especially those deep layers like the transverse, very deep, wraps all the way around the trunk, hugging in. Also the trunk, the powerhouse. The lungs. Now the pelvis. There's different ideas about the position of the pelvis. Different exercises, different positions. I think controlling the pelvis, stabilizing the pelvis, and knowing when you're moving your body and the pelvis is just changing more or less without you consciously controlling it. So again, it comes to the control. I think being able to move in multiple directions is extremely beneficial. Often teachers, we use the word tilt. When we say tilt, the front of the hip bones, the ASIS joint, the front of the hip bones, that bony part, if those are your headlights, your high beams are pointing up, when you tilt, your head beams are starting to point now more towards the wall, right? Like you could fit a hand under. Some people, their spine is naturally already in what we call an anterior pelvic tilt, and we might want to be mindful about not overdoing it. Same with the alternate is the tuck. So tucking under, feeling the low back connect to the floor. Other teachers would say you need to connect every bone possible into the floor. And again, I just think there's variability, so listen to your own body. Just notice how many bones in your spine do you feel on the floor. And then as you move from your tilt through your tuck, just notice the way the spine feels. Again, the awareness of the position of the spine, the rib cage, the pelvis is going to be far more important than the exercise selection, right? There's hundreds, thousands, maybe a million different exercises. You only have one rib cage, one pelvis, although nowadays you can get it replaced, which is nice if you need that. One spine. I like to find somewhere in the middle. So my low back is really pressing into the mat, and there is a tiny bit of space. I'm not overly imprinting my spine. Again, you can choose though. Now the hands come behind the back of the head. With lifting the head, frequently we see, and this is so normal, leading from the neck. So using the neck to come up and come down. And it's just not as efficient, especially when it comes to contracting the abs. So your hands are like a hammock and the head's gently pressing back into the hands. Not so much that you can't move, because with your next exhale, you're going to deepen your ab connection low under your belly button, and then float the head up. Second, the head is slightly pressing back into the hands. Inhaling, you're going back. And that way as you curl up, you're keeping your torso long and engaged, and you're not just cranking into your neck extensors and pulling on your head and neck. That doesn't feel super productive. Now to take it to the next level, you can bring your legs into tabletop, hugging the inner thighs. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lowering. Again, checking in the stability of the pelvis, pressing the low back to keep the torso long. Checking out the rib cage. And that's what I call breathing crunches. You can rock your body up, and we will talk about another core Pilates exercise, the half roll back. With the half roll back, the feet can be flat or flexed. You can choose what feels the best for your pelvis. I'll turn to the side so you can see. Again, the pelvis, everyone has a different shape. Everyone has a different spine. Today's a different day. Do what feels okay in your body and then progress from there. So I'm thinking about my spine like a lifted capital C, a C that wants to be an I. The hands can be light on the thighs. And if this is really pinchy, walk your feet a little bit forward. You do not have to be in crazy close. You pull in the abs and the spine goes back and then back to start. So inhaling, back, and exhaling. What I see a lot as a teacher is leading from the head, leading from the upper back, which looks like boom, boom. I missed an opportunity to connect with my abs. That's so normal. So the name of the game is, how do I work from my powerhouse? And maybe I don't need to go as far as I possibly can today. Eventually you can start to move back if you feel ready. I'm tucking the pelvis slightly and forward. Again, gradual change. That way the pelvis is staying stable. It's not moving quickly. I can change as I go back. Option will be to take it into the full roll up. So if this is enough and you're really getting that great ab connection, stay there. That is amazing. The next option is to straighten out the legs, roll back, keep reaching the legs forward, trying to keep the legs right where they start. The arms go about 6 inches off of the mat. As you inhale and start to lift, curling the head up as the abs pull in, you exhale and roll all the way up and forward. This can take some practice, right? So always an option to go right back to that half roll back or to bend your knees. Inhale, you start the lift, connecting to the powerhouse. Rolling up, keeping the hands about shoulder height as you reach forward. The low back pulls back. There's ab connection, and then slowly back. One more, wherever you are. And then slowly all the way back down to the mat. Now, the powerhouse, the pelvis. The thighs are connected to the pelvis, the legs. What about rotating the hip? How do we rotate the hip from our powerhouse connection and not just the legs? The hips and the abs, they work together. They're like best friends. Let's give your hamstrings, the back of the thigh and nerve glide first, because this can be really tight. So you're looking side to side. If your head's not in an ideal position or it just doesn't feel good, put something under your head, a little tuck in the chin. Again, I believe alignment is more important than a lot of the other, intensity. It does matter. So you're pointing on the way up and flexing on the way down. Now this is a nerve glide, so intensity, like a 5 out of 10, right? You're making that up. I don't know what a 5 out of 10 is for you, but for me, it's somewhere where I can breathe. It's not creating a pain sensation. And I'm able to move with intention and gradual so that the nerves can respond. And I'm not freaking my body out. And then holding, however bent you want to keep your leg so that you can connect to your powerhouse, your trunk, your thigh. If you want to go all the way straight, you can go all the way straight. Let the arms weight and sink into the floor, circling the leg in, across, around, starting super small, like your foot is drawing a circle on the ceiling, and then you can choose what's appropriate for your hip and your abs, and then reverse it. This right butt cheek is not just anchoring into the floor, but also actively reaching away. The leg on the mat, actively reaching away. 2 more. And bend that leg. And other leg in. So we start by lengthening the hip. That left butt cheek's reaching away to keep the torso really long. The other leg's pressed into the floor. Again, you choose what your 5 out of 10 sensation is. Each side is usually a different experience, and that's also why I call this an ab experience. You're experiencing the sensation. Choose where you are going to keep your leg. Press the leg on the floor into the floor. Circle the leg in, across, around. Little circles. Again, what position is the pelvis in? Being aware, stabilizing. Maybe changing it if you're very rotated in one direction, balancing between any extremes. And you can bend the leg. Okay, I don't want this video, I will be making more Pilates videos, I don't want this to be crazy long. I do want to talk about an exercise, a very, very common ab exercise where the legs lower and lift. What I see most of the time, and look, if this is how you want to do it, you drop, you release tension, the legs go low, the belly kind of spills, and then, hip flexor, hip flexor, hip flexor. Again, having strong hip flexors is amazing. If you want to target more of the abs though and make it a coordinated effort, there's the head. The head can lift right in your hammock, so it's not just like cranking in the neck. There's some backwards. And then just lowering a few inches and lifting. And then over time, once you're really connected to your midsection, right between the hips and the ribs, then you can go lower and test it. But if you go so low that you start doming, right, like there's like kind of, like we want to avoid that. So you reset, you find your abdominal corset, head back slightly. You go as low as you can keep that lower ab connection. It might only be a few inches and back up. Amazing. You can go lower, reach those legs out. You're scooping in, scooping in, scooping in, using the inner thighs. Legs come back up. But it's all about what's happening here. And then the legs follow, right? This is the powerhouse. The legs are just along for the ride. Or pressing together, pressing into the midline. And then hug the legs. Awesome. One more concept for this video. Side abs. I love to do some side abs. It's another one where I notice a lot of the time the head's doing too much per se. So let's have the head not do much. If you need to leave your head down and lay or prop and the leg is going to lift, that's amazing, right? This. The other option, if you can tuck your chin, press your head into your hammock, you can do this as well. To start, this bottom leg is either bent and pressing or straight and pressing. Bent or pressing, and your torso is really long. The head is counterbalancing. As the knee pulls up, the head presses back, pressing the leg on the floor into the floor. That way, I'm keeping the torso long. Now, if you want to up level, float both legs up, press the arm into the floor, exhale. So tempting, right? To like get that head crunched in. And it's not that the head has to stay completely still. It's that this is a lot of tension on the neck and not a lot of additional ab tension. And here I can feel long through the head, neck, and strong through the shoulders. So I can still breathe deep into the lung lobes. And then we'll flip over and do one little teaser prep before we finish on the last side. This is like the roll up. The feet, you really want to walk them, not in too close like a bridge, walk them away. It will be much more manageable. And the leg, one leg straight, one leg bent. Only about 3 slow on each side. You won't probably want to do more because no momentum. If that means you are inhaling, you're getting stuck, amazing. This is your prep, you're breathing. Try and exhale, find the deep ab connection, rolling back down. Eventually, some days it works, some days it doesn't, you can roll up, peeling up, feeling your sits bones root, and going back down. 3, again, trying to go lower spine, middle spine, upper spine. And trying not to let the head lead. The head's not leading back or forward. And then switching sides. Again, inhale starts to lift, exhale is how we really pull the abs in. Always stay. This is where the true strength comes from, is the preparation to move. By the time we're moving, it's already either engaging or compensating. But I'm not judging. I cannot even count to 3. I think we've done 2, so 1 more. I loved when I started training Pilates, bend both knees in, and realized one of the mottos was less is more, because less truly is more in terms of ab intensity. I can't remember what side we did. Okay, this side, on the left side body. If you do every exercise so intensely, you actually could even get a stomach ache. Don't ask me how I would know that. But also, I mean, sometimes we just get stomach aches and that's happens. So options for the head, strong head connection. You can always lay the head down, really feel. And even if you're not moving, awareness, aware of the pelvis, hip stacked, awareness of the rib cage, ribs stacked, awareness of the head. That's a lot of awareness. Pulling the leg in and out. Oh, like I was saying, the abs, they're endurance musculature. We're using them all day, which means you can be consciously breathing and checking in with your ab pelvis connection throughout the whole day. Option to lift the legs. It's all about the breathing. And you could add a little crunch of the head. Sometimes it adds that extra little oblique. It's just not head banging. Alright, and then we'll just finish with a quick little rib cage glide. Again, the ribs, so important when it comes to the ab connection. The ribs, the pelvis. It's all important though, but really bringing the consciousness into the low lungs. The ribs go slightly to the right, to the left, barely moving. The pelvis almost shifts counter to stay right where it starts, but I'm thinking about my hips moving to the right as my ribs move to the left. And then switching, you can always use your hands to feel it. And if you can barely move, that's so normal. This musculature gets so tight most of the time, and that's why I'm doing this. And also why I'm showing this is like, how often are you just standing around in your day waiting in line? I mean, like, you know, you can do this in line. I would do this in line, especially if my shirt goes all the way over the abdominals. No one would even notice. And you're getting that inspiration and that breath. And you can also twist. Same thing, the pelvis is staying really heavy. And there's all these ways to explore movement that's more of that gradual, the 5 out of 10 sensations rather than the 10 out of 10. And if you love 10 out of 10, I love that for you. I'm a less is more girl, so 5 out of 10 all day. That's what I really believe works for ab control. And yeah, we breathe all day anyway, so we might as well control that breath. And through the breath, learning to control the whole body. So thanks for coming on this ab experience with me. Hope we can do it again soon.